Hey, this is Tom from MVP Chess. Welcome back to my series on Bobby Fischer's seminal work, My 60 Memorable Games. In this video, we'll be analyzing game number 59 that Fischer played versus Ratmir Kholmov in Skopje 1967. Before we jump into the analysis, though, you know what to do. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and join Team MVP. Really appreciate your support. So, Kholmov was a Soviet grandmaster, not incredibly well known in the West, but he was one of the strongest players in the 1950s and 60s in Russia. His best result came in 1963 when he tied for first with none other than Boris Spassky and Leonid Stein in the Soviet Chess Championship. He also had a previous encounter with Bobby Fischer, which he won when Fischer played in the Havana, Cuba tournament via the Marshall Chess Club in 1965. So, how would this rematch go for Fischer? In this encounter, Bobby's got the black pieces, and we have a Fianchetto variation of the King's Indian defense. Okay, so Kholmov playing pretty solid. Fischer was just behind Efim Geller in the tournament, really needed a play for a win in this game in order to secure clear first in the tournament. So Fischer playing for a win, Kholmov playing a very solid setup with white. And he opts for knight c3. So peculiar development of the knight, foregoing the move pawn to c4, accelerating white's development, but the obvious downside is that in the future, white won't be able to get the classic pawn wedge that white often enjoys against the King's Indian defense. So Fischer plays knight bd7. He's ready for the thematic equalizing move pawn to e5, b3, and e5 coming up next. We can see Kholmov's idea here, though, with pawn to b3. He either wants to fianchetto the bishop or bring it to the a3 square. But first, he decides to release the central tension in the center and plays e4. Fischer plays rook e8, offering more defense of the pawn on e5 and also stepping out of the line of fire of this bishop on a3. Now, this bishop looks good, but it's actually not attacking very much in this position. And we'll see a little bit later that the loose, undefended nature of this piece is going to cause white some really big problems. Okay, so keep that in mind as the game develops. Fischer plays pawn to c6. Really good move in these structures, taking control over the d5 square and getting ready to develop the queen to the queen side. And Fischer said that Kholmov spent over a half an hour coming up with his next move. So a lot of time was invested here. And the move he came up with was bishop to d6. Okay, this is an annoying square for the bishop. Okay, and Kholmov's idea is clearly to keep black bottled up and to put pressure on this e5 pawn. The only problem with this move is that it loses. And Fischer quotes Tarrasch after this move that if you don't know what to do in a chess game, just wait for your opponent to have an idea. Very often it proves to be wrong. And bishop d6 proved to be a losing move in this game. So Fischer starts with queen a5, developing the queen, hitting this loose knight on c3. Kholmov develops the queen, connecting his rooks, defending the knight on c3. Logical move. But Fischer's got an awesome follow-up in this position, which, of course, you have to find. Turning it over to you, what was Fischer's next move that took control over the game? Pause your videos and have a think. So congratulations if you found Fischer's next move. It's an awesome rook lift, rook e6, boom. And white is in a world of hurt. It's all about this queen. Okay, Fischer spotted that this queen is completely overloaded, defending the knight on c3, also the bishop on d6. Now Fischer is menacing to win 2 pieces for the rook. Okay, so instead of allowing that, Kholmov sought to complicate matters. He played pawn to b4. Fischer brings his queen to a3. This a3 square is going to prove to be a really important square for the queen during this game. Just observe how many times Fischer brings the queen to a3 and how disruptive this move is. So we have bishop c7, okay, getting out of that aforementioned tactic with rook takes d6 and queen takes c3, winning 2 minors for the rook. But Fischer's able to win a clean extra pawn. Kholmov has a half-open b-file now to work with, but Fischer just simply drops his queen back to e7. Okay, he's in consolidating mode now. He's up a clean pawn, 3-on-2 queenside majority. He just wants to rein in Kholmov's play and systematically win this game. After rook fd1, Fischer plays knight e8. This bishop is pretty annoying on c7. He says, get out of my house. And then noticing that this rook, which served a vital function on e6, okay, winning that pawn, is now a bit misplaced. Doesn't have much of a future on the square, so Fischer plays rook d6. Nice move just to exchange off this piece, and then plays bishop f8. Nice diagonal for the bishop. We have knight to d2, and here we go. Okay, this isn't the first time. It won't be the last time. Queen a3. Notice how uncoordinated white is on the queen side. We've got loose pieces hanging everywhere, and Fischer is just poking holes in white's position. Knight c4, defending for the time being, but then we have queen c5, another double attack. Bishop f1 defending the knight, and now Fischer is ready to start advancing on the queen side, pushing his 3-on-2 majority. He plays pawn to b5 in this position. Excellent move. Driving the knight back, and you guessed it, he goes back to a3 with the queen, hitting these pieces once again. Knight b3, trying to hold things together, but Fischer's then able to activate his knight. Knight c5, okay, threatening to remove the defender of the bishop on a5. So Kholmov lashes out, he gets impatient and just sacrifices a piece for these queenside pawns. Okay, that's usually what happens. Okay, when you have a worse position, it's very difficult for your opponent to just sit there and suffer. Eventually, they're going to get frustrated. They're going to lash out, and this is what Kholmov did in this position. So the queen's under attack. Fischer brings it to the a4 square. We have a couple trades, and then queen d5. Okay, so Kholmov's got some temporary activity for the sacrificed material, but Fischer's got it under control. He plays rook b8, pawn to a4, and then a really nice move, getting the light squared bishop into the game, bishop h3. A very important move for Fischer, okay? Clearly, Kholmov is sorely missing his light squared bishop. Okay, he's got a fianchettoed king position. The light squared bishop is MIA, and now all of a sudden, Fischer's going to have mating threats on the back rank in various positions. So we have queen takes e5. Kholmov picks up another pawn for his troubles, hitting the rook, but Fischer just simply brings the rook to the c-file, attacking the knight, which has to drop back. And Fischer regains the pawn that he just lost. So now Fischer also has a potential outside pass pawn that will be a huge asset in any endgame. Kholmov played knight e1 here, trying to hold things together, but Fischer's next move is an absolute killer and prompted resignation. I'll turn it over to you two one last time. Black to play. What move did Fischer play that put the game away? Pause your videos. We've talked about this entire game, how vulnerable White's queenside pieces have been. They've been lacking support squares. This queen has been driving them absolutely nuts during the game. And congratulations if you found the simple pawn move, pawn to a6. White resigned. This knight has absolutely no available squares. Okay, let's say knight d4. Oops, bishop g7. Thank you very much. Obviously, knight to c3 is going to be met with the same fate. Knight a3 just hangs the knight. So let's take a look at how the game could have continued. Knight a7. Okay, Fischer would be able to put more pressure on this knight, drop the queen back, and exchange on a7. But we notice now white's able to take a piece on e8, but thanks to the bishop on h3, this game is finished. Queen a1 with unstoppable mate threats against the white king. So that's why after pawn to a6, Kholmov decided to resign and threw in the towel. With this victory, Fischer came in clear first ahead of Geller in the Skopje 1967 tournament. It was a fine display by Fischer, really exploiting white's loose pieces on the queen side. One of the first lessons I give to all of my students is that loose pieces drop off. And that bishop to a3 move, it may have been theory at the time, but Fischer basically refuted it over the board. Awesome job by Fischer. So I hope you enjoyed this analysis of game number 59. Don't forget, smash that subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss the grand finale of Bobby Fischer's My 60 Memorable Games series when we review game number 60. That's coming up next. Thank you so much for your support. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.